Things will, in the words of one major retailer, never be the same again. The lockdown has brought our shopping malls and stores to a halt, and when the customers are eventually encouraged to return, the shopping experience will be very different for the foreseeable future. Well, Peter Harris has been looking at the new normal on the high street. So what can we expect it to look like, Peter?
I think shopping trips will be very different from now on, Dawn. Yes, not least because we may well be encouraged to shop alone from now on, so it becomes quite a solitary experience. The stores, of course, would have to limit the number of people inside at any one time. They'd have to keep us all 2 metres apart. Before all of that, though, they have to get the doors open again for the first time. As you've probably guessed, these pictures weren't filmed this afternoon. This is Black Friday, the pre-Christmas shopping frenzy that used to pass for normal.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
In the serenity of our new socially distanced normal, things will be very different for shoppers and for the shops.
It's going to have a massive impact, and it'll be quite a long sort of process to recover from where we were originally. And even post-lockdown, we're talking about minimum 6 months before businesses get back to where they originally were. So a lot of pain. I think there's going to be a massive change in behaviour. For example, online shopping is without doubt going to continue building. I think people will actually, having shopped locally and found that their local shops have actually provided a great service, whether it be the butcher, the baker, and the local convenience store. I believe that there's actually part of the business that they've gained, they will actually now retain longer term. So there are some positives to come out of a negative.
More of those positives in a minute, but we don't yet know when the malls will reopen, and already a string of major names from Debenhams to Laura Ashley have run into trouble. On the high streets and in the malls, this could be very bad. According to the Centre for Retail Research, if the lockdown continues for 3 months into June, around 20,000 of the closed down stores will never reopen, and that would mean around about 250,000 shop workers' jobs disappearing, never to return. Here in Stockton, the high street billboards now advertise town centre events cancelled by coronavirus measures. They hope, though, for a silver lining for their surviving smaller traders when they finally do reopen.
The concern is that people won't come back to the high street. However, I'm not sure that's really the case. I'd like to see, we've seen a lot about people seeing communities and those types of things, and I'm hoping that people get behind independent businesses, and that's going to be our focus from the bid, is getting people back to the high street and making the high street feel like a community place once that the lockdown has finally been taken away from us.
And that's a hope shared by small business owners like Martin outside his temporarily shuttered shop.
Independent businesses are quite creative. We rely on things like social media and goodwill of customers. I think majority of independents, a high majority of independents, are going to survive at what we're going to be looking different.
Survival for shops big and small will be the theme of 2020. That is when the shoppers are eventually allowed to return. You mentioned at the start, Dawn, that one retailer had said things would never be the same again. Now, that retailer was Marks and Spencer. If a company of that size feels that way, that perhaps is a real indication of just how different the new normal will be out here on the high streets. Dawn.
Thanks very much, Peter. Well, some sports news now, and a final decision